Are you bored of defending yet another disappointing video game release from the "it's bad because woke" mob?
Leftists make sure to get their creepy little tendrils
of the woke cancer infecting video games.
It's not dialogue, it's a sermon.
But actually it is a pretty disappointing mess. Maybe it is because the main character can make out with a character of the same gender. But wait, this game was good and had gays in it, so what is the truth? Well, I might have found an answer. Video game studios are reheating their leftovers and it's giving everyone food poisoning. The most recent example of this? Life is Strange Reunion. Yeah, remember Life is Strange? The game by the French studio Don't Nod, inexplicably about teenagers from Oregon.
Come on, rock out, girl!
Rock and roll!
That blew the bloody doors off the games industry when it came out back in 2015. Well, after some moderately successful follow-ups,
sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
We got 2 whole new games featuring the reheated Max Caulfield. And they even brought back Chloe.
Wait, isn't she supposed to be dead?
Well, my friend, not if there's money to be made.
We are not doomed. We're Max and Chloe.
So let's make like Max Caulfield and find out what's going on. Been practicing for this bit. Oh, that's not. As a paid-up member of the tofu-eating homosexual wokerati,
skinny, androgynous teenager with shit hair.
You'd think that I would be pleased to see an end to the bury your gays trope, and a happy ending to Max and Chloe's story from Life is Strange in Life is Strange Reunion. Spoiler alert, I'm not. However, something actually strange is happening, and it's not the rewind time kind. And it doesn't have anything to do with Tash from Dragon Age the Veilguard having they-them pronouns. The problem is, of course, freewheeling market capitalism, baby.
Over the years, there have been many games, characters, and franchises we've all wished would return.
The Marxist theorist Mark Fisher popularized the theory of hauntology, a term originally coined by the French philosopher Derrida. In our late capitalist society, things feel so bleak and unoptimistic that we look to the past and nostalgia in our art, rather than creating new ideas.
The future has disappeared. So there's now a feeling that nothing ever really dies, but that's not good.
Companies are going, hey, remember that thing you really liked?
Something just came across my desk, John.
Isn't it nice and safe and worth spending money on to see again, but new? And look, Ray Tracer's here. Which is certainly ironic that when you remember Max's entire narrative arc centers on the fact that she's fixated on returning to and fixing the past, and the fact that you probably shouldn't really be doing that. Even recent smash hits like Mixtape are centered around the old tunes from the 90s and the nostalgia of what it was to be a teenager then. And can you blame a gal for wanting to think of the better times and the promises of a better future when we've all gone through a pandemic, economic collapse, potential nuclear war? And I think there's no better example of this than Spider-Man. Insomniac's original Spider-Man game from 2018 is the second best-selling PS4 game of all time. And whilst yes, it is a Marvel game, so you can expect some degree of superhero cheese and explosions and men in robot suits yelling about revenge, underneath all that is a game surprisingly willing to let its characters fail each other and play out the consequences. It also does an incredible job of humanizing the villains, like Doc Ock.
You promised. Remember?
Or Martin Lee, the man that runs the Feast homeless shelters and sees his alter ego, Mr. Negative, as a necessary evil in his quest to take down Norman Osborn. Peter's final decision echoes the same trolley problem at the heart of the original Life is Strange. Save the person you love or save everyone else. Although it isn't left to player choice, it's still an incredibly powerful part of the game. So all good so far, but then came Spider-Man 2 in 2023. Undeniably commercially, it was massive and the best-selling PS5 game to date. Let's not talk about how few PS5 games there are, but much of its success you can probably attribute to the fact it was relying on a famous and indestructible IP and characters and sick mechanics and that. Because let's be honest, the story and the writing was not good. At least in comparison to the first game. The lovely folks over on the Gamergate side of the internet are quick and, in my opinion, incredibly lazy to blame woke culture on why the writing's so bad. But what actually went wrong?
God, can't believe I'm telling the story. I remember when there was one part in the project where we realized that the back half of the game we weren't going to make it.
Pretty late on in production, the devs realized that the back half of the game simply wasn't going to make it to the quality bar expected, whatever that means, leading to what Initar describes as a heated discussion with Sony execs, sketching out a recovery plan on a napkin. Now one can only assume that crushing the entire creative narrative writing process into a napkin-sized wrap-up to appease some Sony execs on Zoom, wasn't a great idea. We got what felt like a game that had too much going on and too little time developing any of it, because profit came first and the game came second. Which, funnily enough, is the exact point that Sven Vinke made at the Game Awards after destroying Spider-Man 2 with Baldur's Gate 3.
It's stupidly simple. Studio made their game because they wanted to make a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand.
But none of this matters anyway, because it did so well commercially and people still really liked it. And because it was a commercial hit, maybe we should be nervous that the big business people will take that as a sign that media literacy is dead, and we won't mind boring writing in our games for the next Insomniac titles as long as you jam in as many cameos as possible. Which is starting to sound familiar, isn't it? Because that is exactly what happened with the Life is Strange franchise. The bigger and more valuable an IP gets, the less anyone is allowed to do anything with it that might damage profits, like permanently killing off Chloe. Don't Nod literally had nothing to lose when they made Life is Strange because nobody knew who Max or Chloe were, so therefore they weren't valuable intellectual property that they could use to bait us into playing the game in the first place. In 2024 and 2025, we get two major releases: the return of Max Caulfield in Life is Strange Double Exposure, and Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
You're safe now.
Fight!
The fourth entry into the Dragon Age universe. So both of these titles are follow-ups to classic narrative universes built on loss, sacrifice, and irreversible player choices, and they killed it dead. Good. The most frustrating part of Veilguard is that this is the studio that gave us games where your companions could openly despise you, even leave your party, or die. Not to mention the interpersonal conflicts between them.
I think I'm sick of mages and Templars.
So why is it that in Veilguard, no matter what you do or whose town you decide to destroy, nobody really actually hates each other?
We had our shot at her, and we missed.
Say what you mean, Davrin. I missed.
Nobody blames you for that, Lucanus.
The writing for the companions is some of the most insipid dialogue I've ever experienced. Tevinter doesn't appear to have slaves anymore, they've been disappeared, despite that being a defining part of what made Tevinter so evil. Racism against elves is also magically barely mentioned.
Wow, I've never seen one of you knife ears dressed like the King of Ferelden before.
A well-trained elven servant is highly valued in Orlais.
Games journalist Jason Schreier produced a damning post-mortem article explaining why the game was a commercial failure, and the blame seemed to mostly be with the pivot from a live service title back into a single-player RPG with only a little amount of time and budget left. Live service games are not exactly known for their challenging or complex narrative structures. They're more akin to a Vegas slot machine than to War and Peace. What BioWare was trying to do was to repackage the nostalgia of the Dragon Age series into a safer, nobody ever truly loses or goes through anything meaningful game. There's a new Mass Effect in production right now, and look, controversial opinion, writing this entire essay has changed my mind about the fact it might actually be a mistake to bring back Shepard. There's a lot of buzz on social media that bringing back Shepard will save the franchise from whatever the hell Andromeda was, which yes, had many of the same issues as every other game I've talked about so far, plus a disastrous launch. But I wonder if Shepard returning in order to haunt the player with this nostalgia of everything the character meant to us might not make for a good game. So what have we learned today? That the people yearn for the cozy in a world where everything sucks, and the market simply reflects that. Maybe we should be resisting the urge to curl up with a cozy game and engage with darker media in order to emancipate ourselves from this dull, neo-capitalist hellscape. Hey, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just hoping that studios realize that people need a little friction and new ideas and IPs, and that games aren't flopping because they've got gays in them. So maybe in 10 years, when the development cycle of your favorite next AAA game finishes, we'll get some good goddamn games. And maybe the solution in the meantime is to escape to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
Space! Don't like being sat on, huh?
Wait, no, this was a terrible idea.